breed and thrive. So that's a big focus for us. So the question really remains, how do we restore and what do we restore? So when you take a look at the stressors to the Meadowlands, many of them are very typical to other urban systems, but there's a couple things that are pretty unique to the Meadowlands. One is I mentioned the history of the Meadowlands and how the ecosystem has changed over time. Basically, in draining and filling the Meadowlands, they caused the lands to subside, and when the berms broke down and the tide gates broke down, that land was lower, so a lot of the land became open water and mudflat. So that started to change the hydrology of the area. And then as the tie gates and dams further upstream were built, then we started to become a more brackish system than a freshwater system. And then lastly, because it was a freshwater system, it's really a mineral-based system, whereas a lot of these coastal species want sandy habitats. So that's a real big focus for us. The site is completely surrounded by highways, rail lines, pipelines, and other infrastructure, and a lot of it's old infrastructure. We're really bounded completely by infrastructure, and that infrastructure needs constant maintenance and upgrading. And so there's little to no buffers around these infrastructures, so there's always impacts. And the NJSCA has no regulatory authority or little regulatory authority. We have a little bit of zoning control, but other than that, the tidal areas are under core jurisdiction. The freshwater and riparian areas are under New Jersey DEP jurisdiction. And so we're really at the mercy of whoever's holding office at the federal and state level at the time. Right now, it's a nice climate. We're allowed to say climate change. So we're trying to do things real fast while we have that nice climate. And then lastly, we were recently added to the Superfund list. So that kind of throws everything else into a whirl, and we're still trying to sort that one out. So we come up with these priorities based on everything that I've told you, and from those develop this list of projects. And so what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about those projects. You can see they're spread throughout the district. Most of them are highlighted. There's a couple missing from that map, but and there are a couple that are off the river. So no matter what happens with the Superfund listing, we know that there's some that we can work on. The first one I want to quickly tell you about is the Sawmill Creek Wildlife Management Area. We're currently studying that system a little bit more in depth using an EPA Wetland Development Program grant. And the goals of restoration are pretty much what I've already described: renourishing the marshes, creating more sandy habitat, and increasing the blue carbon storage, or at least we're looking into whether that's possible. Sawmill was one of those that was completely bermed off from the river in 1930. You can see the system was fairly intact. And then in 2020, all that blue is open water or mudflat. A nor'easter came in 1950 and just blew everything out. And over time, it's eroding, and it's still eroding. We've been doing very informal monitoring of the erosion, putting sticks in the mud and seeing how they get closer to the water. Some of them are in the water now. We do everything on a very small budget. Here's another shot of the sawmill. So what you're looking at, this is the eastern spur of the New Jersey Turnpike. Back here is the western spur. My office is back there a little bit. And this is the eastern part of the Sawmill Creek Wildlife Management Area. So this area was entirely vegetated. This is the remainders of the berm, and some of the tie gates are in there. And this is the future Essex Hudson Greenway that I'll talk about a little bit more. But what we're looking to do is use techniques like those that were used in South Jersey and Jamaica Bay to renourish the marshes. The site used to have portions of it were Atlantic white cedar forest, and so you can see a lot of the stumps at low tide. And what we notice is that the shorebirds and other species, the terrapin, they like to hang out on any bit of structure that's out there as the tide rises. So we'd like to see about putting large woody debris in to mimic that structure. This is the back part of Sawmill. So again, here's the Essex Hudson Greenway, and behind us is the Turnpike. And so this is supposed to be next New Jersey State Park. And so we'd love to work with the state and the other planners to create a living shoreline all along that greenway. And then here we'd love to see a nice sandy beach. So imagine you're driving up the Turnpike on your way to the stadium, and what you see on this either side are sandy dunes and beaches. So that's the dream, at least. And again, one more shot. Here's Essex Hudson Greenway, and you can see the old berm. Right on the other side is the Kearney Brackish Marsh. That has been surrounded completely by infrastructure, but it is the site of a mitigation project that's ongoing using some of the similar techniques that I just discussed for Sawmill. And so we're hoping that once that project is in place, that my agency can build off of that and restore a lot of the Kearney Brackish Marsh. But the difference in the Kearney Brackish Marsh, here we have about a 5 to 6 foot tidal range, and the Kearney Brackish is about a 1 foot range. So we're starting with small projects before we try to go too big. What else? So the living shoreline, we want to use something like we did
from calendar. Tommy report.
What? Anyway, this is actually, this was a biohabitats project at Staten Island Fresh Kills, and this is Dawson creating the living shoreline. So we want to use some natural techniques like we're used here, using cord matting and bags of shell and sand. And I mentioned Kearney Brackish Marsh. West of that is Kearney Freshwater Marsh, and Kearney Freshwater Marsh is a little bit more cut off from the river. Actually, both rivers, the Passaic and the Hackensack River. So it is freshwater, and it historically was one of the most productive bird areas in the state. Birders would come from all around to visit this site. But Superstorm Sandy basically picked up the little frag islands and just, sorry about that, pushed them all to the side. And so now we have a lot of open water. There's still a lot of Atlantic white cedar stumps, and so this little least bittern was hopping around. So again, the restoration for a site like this is similar. We want to put more structure out there. We're not trying to get rid of the frag in this area. The secretive marsh birds actually like it because it's not dense. It allows for breeding, but we'd like to put more back as it was before. Here's another shot. Again, on the back side here, north side is the Essex Hudson Greenway, and this is the Sawmill again out here, and the two spurs of the Turnpike. And here's Keegan Landfill, which I'll talk about in a minute. So thinking about what we want to do out here, one of the things that we're looking at is creating floating islands similar to those that Biomatrix has. It kind of looks like Kearney Freshwater, at least to me. So we found this floating dock, and we towed it over to the marsh, and we put a little railing around it and put a bunch of sand on it and a remote camera, and we've been watching to see who visits it. It's a very small site, so we're not expecting flocks yet, but we want to build up off of it. We have a little semi-palmated sandpiper and a great blue heron. A couple other species have been out there, so it's kind of exciting. But then we were really excited to see that here in Maryland, in Chincoteague Bay, Maryland DNR has something much larger. We didn't know about this when we did our little experiment, but now we're seeing that the concept works. So we're looking forward to really build that up. I've been talking about a lot about the landfills, and when I was hired for this position, the last question they asked me is, if you were king, what would you do? And I said, bring people to the landfills, bring and create habitats on the landfills. And somehow they hired me anyway. So I'm trying to make good on that. One of the, I mentioned that Keegan landfill was the right along the Kearney freshwater marsh. That was the last landfill that was closed. And so we're looking at trying to recreate efforts like was done at Kramer Hill Waterfront Park down in Camden, New Jersey, to create a new space for the overburdened community of Kearney. So we developed a little sketch just to bring to the town to get them thinking about what they wanted, what they want to do with them. I just met with them last week, and we're going to be working together to try to see how we can create this amazing new space for this ultra urban community that's surrounded by the Passaic and Hackensack but has no access to the waterways. So a big part of this will be creating areas for, oops, I keep doing that. Creating areas for folks to get to the water and kayak, but in a limited way so that the wildlife can still be actively breeding there. This is on top of the Keegan landfill, and we see this as New Jersey's next Hawk Watch. You know, I can't wait to get the public access to a site like this. Just a few more sites to talk about, and I'll be done bending your ear. Losenso Park is one of those last few forested wetland areas, and it's even though it's small, it's really important because it has one of the few last trees that are there, that and Teeter Airport. And so we get amazing birds to the area, and because of that, we have birders coming from all around. Every year, there seems to be some species that just kind of bumbles into the park, and then people are coming from all over. So one of the problems we have is there's a lot of vernal pools, and there's a lot of traffic going through the vernal pools. So we've been trying to find funds to create boardwalks for all those visitors. But we'd also like to do something similar to what was done. Oh, here's another shot of Losenso. You can see here's the creek in the background, and you can see the warehouses and the homes are right there on the back end. So there's a lot of problem with invasive mile a minute. We're working to pull that, but we'd also like to do something like was done at Teaneck Creek Park and create a regenerative stormwater conveyance to hold the stormwater in, alleviating some of the flooding in the Little Ferry community. And last, I wanted to speak a little bit about the salt marsh sparrow again. I think this site is in and of itself sort of the essence of the Meadowlands. So just to point out a couple of things here. Here you have the Kearney Brackish and the sawmill. Here's the Essex Hudson Greenway. Another landfill, that's not Keegan, that's yet another one. There's a couple landfills over here, the Malanka landfills, a lot of development. And you have the turnpike, both spurs, then you have the Amtrak line going through, and right here is our salt marsh sparrow habitat. And it's the last one remaining. We had salt marsh sparrow at 3 other sites, but other species the sites have dried up. So we're trying to restore the hydrology to those other sites. But the problem with Riverbend is Phragmites is moving in. So we're trying to get rid of that so we can preserve the site. But just a couple months ago, the Portal Bridge project just started, and that's going to be there for at least 5 years, maybe more. And the Portal Bridge, if you have ever taken a New Jersey Transit and been stuck on the bridge for an hour, or stuck on the train for an hour, or Amtrak, the Portal Bridge is one of those old bridges that turns open and then it gets stuck, and so all the trains get backed up. And they actually have to have guys come out manually, pull it back and hammer it shut. So they're trying to upgrade that line a little bit, but it's going to go through one of the most sensitive habitats in the Meadowlands. There's an osprey nest here. There's one right above the Portal Bridge. There's another run right here. The peregrine falcon nests right here. And the diamondback terrapin nests all through here. This is the remediation site where we found it nesting this summer. So we moved it a little bit further up river. So it's one of the most sensitive sites, but yet everything is going through there. When we're there doing the secret of marsh bird surveys, it's so quiet right around 4:30. Then all of a sudden at 5, it's just booming. This so many trains and planes and automobiles going by. So anyway, that in a nutshell is the Meadowlands. And so I'll leave you with the thought that, the Meadowlands doesn't need us. The badass Meadowlands will keep thriving long after we're gone. But while we're here, hopefully we can assist it with its recovery and try to slow down some of the harm to the system. And we need partners, we need funding, we need a lot of help. We have a very small staff. But, I got a couple years till I retire, so let's go. Thanks. Oh, down here is our little story map that we created about a year or two ago. But these two videos, the first one's from 1984. It was done by the Nature Conservancy right when they were starting to put together a park that was going to be the DeCourt Park, which is where I work. It's a really cool video, but even more interesting is this video right here. It's from 1970, and it interviews a muskrat tracker, a barge operator, and a woman scientist in a white miniskirt. It's really cool stuff. Yeah. Oh. Patricia asks, I'm curious to know more about keeping Phragmites in one area for marsh birds instead of replacing it with native marsh species. We, every site's different. Some sites, the Phragmites is not dense and it plays well with others. It allows, it's a good mix with the natives that are there. In other areas, it's completely dominating and it's 13 feet high and nothing uses it. So we're trying to move away from outright use of herbicide all over. We're looking for natural ways to treat the frag, and we're looking to make sure we're not just spraying year after year after year. We want to change what's causing the area to be in a degraded fashion rather than just treating the symptoms. So I hope that answers your questions. You can just play a minute or two of it. It gives, I think that they start with the barge operator. He's got the best accent. That's the Corny Marsh. That's the court part. That's the Essex Hudson Greenway. There's an osprey nest now on top of that bridge. In case you folks didn't hear, I'll let Matt repeat.
So everyone online received the links that were shown and provided by Sarah. If there's any other presenters that had links that they want to send me, what we'll do is we'll get them added to the presenters' bios, and that's where you'll also get the emails. I'll have those uploaded, so you can just go to those website or that one page. Ideally, I've recorded these for the most part, but it's been going in and out. So I have some that are 2-minute videos, some that are 3 hours. Depending on the size, if I can get them loaded to the website, those will also be pasted to that webpage. So you can go back and listen to specific presentations if you'd like. So is there any other questions for Terry while we got her? All right, well, thank you, Terry. Let me grab some stuff. There's a few things going on with Global I want to make sure everyone's aware of. There's a few things we've done with the chapter this year. We have elections to do. Let me get my list up. With me, I have to juggle through a bunch of stuff. I did not print out everything. First, we'll start with a general financial statement. Bob, if you want to come up, I do actually have a revised number, or I can just say it for you. Your choice. So, treasurer. So before I go further, let me call to official this meeting for the Sermon Atlanta chapter. All right. So Bob just gave a financial statement. We currently have in our funds 48,149. That's in our banking account. After we transfer the registration fees and finish paying off all the other bills, we'll have approximately $51,346 in the funds. So that will go towards other future activities and initiatives that the chapter will do, as well as our future conferences as well. Each year we get a payment from Global. It's around $5,000, and that typically happens at the first of the year, and that's membership, our portion of the membership dues. So other funds are generally paid through sponsorships or registration fees or general donations for different events, like we did with our field trips, where just for non-members we asked for a simple donation. So next we'll go for our elections and have our two folks that were open for the positions for the elections come on up. Everyone can see your face. Kristen, how do you say your last name? Yeah, you guys can come up behind me, so folks at home can see you. So for our DC representative, Kristen Joliker, works for Arlington, excuse me, Arlington County in Virginia, but she lives in the district, so she can certainly take our district representative position. She has a degree in geology and marine sciences. Her first position out of graduate school was North Carolina Botanical Garden, working in the native habitat gardens. She went on to earn a certificate in landscape design and has focused on native habitat restoration in the context of watershed management. Her current role is a mid-level manager of the county, where she manages capital program that includes stream restoration and green infrastructure projects. She's also an administrator for the county's Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act implementation program. So we'll go ahead and just officially vote on her election. We'll go by yeas. All in favor? Yay. Any opposed? All right. Welcome. And then for the final, for our vice president for this next year, Robbie had the nice long bio yesterday, so I'm just going to skip over that. Got a lot of bios and they were very long. So Robbie will be taking over as the vice president chair by vote. It's a 3-year term where it goes for vice president, president, past president. It will take effect on the first of the year. We've revised our bylaws to not follow the annual meeting, since sometimes it doesn't happen or it just happens at random times in the year. We're going to do it by calendar year. Robbie will take the position at the first of the year. Rich will take over as president the first of the year, and I will jump into the past president, where Terry will be dismissed and be able to focus on her retirement plan and restoration projects. So by yeas? Any opposed? Welcome. Any comments?
Thanks.
All right.
Looking forward to working with everyone.
Thanks, guys. You guys sit back down. We'll do another formal vote. So as I mentioned, Eve went into some of it. There's different elements of her initiative she's looking for. I believe it was what are the two partnerships again? So partners and members. Partners, you will have to sign an agreement. This is on an individual basis. So if you want to participate and get more involved with her initiative, you can certainly talk to her about both of those. But overall, as a formal vote on giving her our support as the chapter, and she can use our chapter logo going forward. By yeas? Any opposed? All right. We'll find the actual correct logo so we can send that to you, and you can use it in your pamphlets, any other programs you need to. Just as a quick mention, in case you haven't seen it, they've been advertising at the conference of the Global Conference 2023 is in Australia. I've heard a few folks that are planning to attend. It will probably be at 3 o'clock in the morning on our side. So just as a note, they are working on a North American conference. I've mentioned this to a few people throughout the conference. It's targeted to start in 2024. The way they're trying to set this up, it's been just a lot of planning with the different chapter heads. That it will be a joint held conference by 2 organizations every time it occurs. So it's not all on one chapter for financial coverage. And whenever they hold that conference, that would be their annual meeting requirements, like this is for us. So the first one is going to occur out west. They already had volunteers when they started bringing everybody in. It's intended to be in Seattle, not yet confirmed. But the joint chapters will be that Northwest chapter of the US and the Western Canada chapter, whatever that one is. I forget which it is. So there'll be more information. I've let the board know any updates I get from it, and we can send out any updates as they actually start to plan that and announce it. There is something that I just noticed today, and I want to bring this up. So let me see if I can get to it without seeing my screen. Global has released draft guidance documents, new guidance documents for restoration practice as they've been working towards the decade with the UN. On their global page, there is a link to it here on the bottom right side. So if you have not had an opportunity to review those, they are looking for comments. Please go do that. I myself would like to. I believe they're looking for, yeah, here in another week. So it's a short timeline if you've not seen it before. They will send you to this page where you can then download the actual guidance document, and it's, I think, about 30-page document of their updated procedures. And this in the end will end up replacing the current standards that we have as part of Global. This will be a revision based on focusing on the UN. There's two other elements I wanted to bring up. General one, certification deadline for the SERP and SERPIT for this fall is in 2 weeks. I believe it's October 30th, correct? Allison, you've been paying attention to that. So if you're not yet certified, please do go get certified. It's the only currently recognized certification for ecological practitioners itself. And it's growing. Global's trying to make it grow. And as we start to build into larger projects and these projects being funded by our government agencies, having that and making sure that these agencies are using that and selecting qualified individuals would be a great benefit, making sure that we continue a streamlined focus on how restoration projects are applied. Each restoration project is different in its own, but the principles behind it should be somewhat standardized and making sure that it's a benefit for all. There's a global mentorship program. So one of the initiatives that we had started, Donna, which I'm going to ask her to come up here shortly, and Bill, who is unfortunately not here, we're starting some mentorship programs in the organization, trying to find mentors for student organizations and our emerging professionals. Global, without communication, had an equal opportunity, and we're moving forward with something. They are doing a trial mentorship program this fall. I am involved in that myself. I don't know if anybody else got invited to it, if they signed up for it. After this, I believe it's a 3-month trial period, depending on the success and how that operates. Their intent is to expand it beyond who they sent the initial request to. So that's one of the biggest requests that they've received at Global across the board, is that the students and emerging professionals want to have a mentorship program. They want to be able to speak to the experienced, qualified individuals that are certified practitioners and advancing their careers. And then the last is the partnership grant. So we applied. There's no update on getting it yet. Donna, do you want to come up here? I mean, we'll just, you know a little bit more about what we put into it. I just had it open this morning, but it's just a general, and also to recognize you because you put a lot of work into it.
Is committed to helping as much as we can, even if we don't get the grant. So to try and remember it all, we set up. So Bill and I, the Student and Emerging Professionals Committee, we kind of spearheaded that to kind of re-engage that. We have some great people here who have helped with it. Alyssa Hannigan is going to get her SERP this year. SERPIT as a recent graduate. So yeah, so that's one of the things that we've really been pushing is the SERPIT, knowing that the deadline is coming up on this 31st. And then we also are trying to get the schools more connected. I mean, we have 8 regions and so many schools within that. We only have like 3 clubs listed on National's website, so we should be able to really, so student and emerging professionals that you know, please reach out to us if they're interested in getting engaged. We are working on trying to get a LinkedIn page, some sort of social media to connect people more. So that is one of our goals, is really to get all of these universities and colleges more connected in our region. And then so we did put in to request monies to kind of pay somebody to help with the social media, just a volunteer kind of low paying position, you know, and then also to just engage that, reach out to those schools. And then the other big lift that we hope we can get, but we don't know, is to try and get at least 2 more SERP aligned universities. So any education people, academic practitioners in the room or that you know of, we have found that to be quite a big lift. Trying to get through the politics of academia and trying to sell that. But we'd like to get some SERP-aligned programs in our region. So that's what we're working on. If we get the partnership grant, but with
Right.
your commitment, move forward.
Right. So I just brought the draft version I had, since this was a web form that they ended up submitting for it. There were 4 goals we set for it. The school club creation, the create a monitor and networking platform, so social networking, SERP alignment research, and then the SERP application scholarship. All of our efforts are focused on student EPs. That's the idea, is to build those networks. They are limited. We have a few we want to expand. That's where we're seeing the most involvement, is in that level. We will, I think total, our request was for 5,000. Through the partnership grant, I think we were going to match, I think around 2,500 equivalent to it, to go through those different initiatives. So as Donna said, the biggest thing is getting networks into these colleges. So if you have contacts in various universities within your state, that's the biggest thing we need. We need to help set up those conversations and start those initiatives. We do have state reps for each state, and that's where we're looking to help lead that. But everyone that's here or online that's involved and may have those contacts, please, if you're certainly have those ends, please reach out to Donna and Bill or myself, and I'll send you over to Donna and Bill so that we can get this started for next year. With that, is there any other comments, questions for forum? All right, well, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you for everyone for attending. We have some time. The shuttle is going to be here. Come on, Richard. We have some time before the field trips. The shuttle should be here at 11:30. The box lunches will be ready. So if you need to still check out, take some walk around, get your field equipment. We are going to go into some stream areas. Don't know if it's going to be super wet or not. Just rained a lot yesterday. So I certainly brought my own muck boots. Rich wants to say a few words, and then I would say let's meet in the lobby around 11:15 in case the shuttle arrives a little bit early.
I just want to have everybody give a round of applause to Matt and everybody that put this together, but Matt specifically did a lot, and I've got a lot to hold up to. So I'm going to be looking for the past president to help.
Tech. All right, thank you, everybody.